Hey, hey, beautiful people. It is October the 15th at 12:04 in the afternoon. No, it's midnight. Kind of looks like midnight. We've got a little cloud cover over us today, keeping everything kind of cool and enjoyable here in Florida, and I'm digging on it. Things are getting ready to get really interesting around here. Later on this afternoon, we've got the first in a series of four CMEs, M class, all coming at us. And it looks like our sun has reawakened, and seems like the polarities have shifted, and it's starting to fire back up again. And who the heck knows what's getting ready to happen, except these flares are incoming. And man, looking at the mechanics of everything, if you observe what has happened with the sun's pole reversal, it going to quadrupolar, and I don't think that shifted back to just a north and south pole yet. I think it's still quad. And looking at what's going on planet with the collective of humanity, with individuals, with the governments, with person's twin flame issues, if they're not with them and that twin flame is a perfect reflection but a polar opposite. The pole shift, the polar opposites, seems to be what is really becoming apparent right now in everything. And it's interesting to watch how it all has to do with, at least right now, with our sun. It's fractalized. It's the same thing in reflections all the way up. And it's really interesting to see what's going on. For me personally, many people have been asking me to why haven't I done a video? That's because I'm still going through my own personal clearing processes. And Bill Ballard's had a lot of shit in his life that he's had to clean up. And the funny part about it is, as my field amplifies and the light quotient expands and my frequency's coming up, the very, very, very smallest thing looks like it's under a microscope or a magnifying glass, a giant magnifying glass. And it's so really interesting. These past couple of weeks, for me, what I've been experiencing is a clearing of separation pains and anxieties. And of course, our next level of reintegration on a spiritual level, how we fractalize to get here, is our twin flame. And if we've been here a long time, we can have actually multiple twin flames. And all of this, everything that's going on right now is magnetics. It's just like what's going on with the sun, with the pole reversal. The poles are magnetic. What's going on within our physical beings and how we create our experience is magnetics. What goes on with a twin flame is magnetics. And all the way back up to source, following our sources to self, and recognizing where we fractalized ourselves from, and by realigning through those sources of self, it's all magnetics. And that's exactly what's going on with the Ascension process right now, too. It is magnetics. The more light we hold in our frequency, and that light can be personally generated, it can be amplified by cosmic rays or by the sun or by the magnetics that are coming in from the galactic center, or the universal ascension that we're going through right now. There's many different ways how these magnetics come into our being, and many things that affect the magnetics within our being. Our activations, our initiations, just like activating the heart chakra and the generating of the toroidal field that emanates from the heart chakra, that's magnetics. That's the magnetic field that you see around me when I'm doing videos inside, and you can see those lines of force coming out, or how it affects this fence behind me, even in this picture. That's all magnetics. And that's what everything's about. Many of us get hung up in personalities or ego or identification with self when, yes, I'm Bill Ballard in these short 51 years of this life that I have lived. Yes, my twin flame is who she is in this life as her personality and her ego. But that is truly not who we are. Who we are fractals of our higher selves, and the magnetics that and the energy that we really are in the life that occurs through our experiences and our initiations and our expansion of our consciousness and our cosmic awareness. This gets really, really complicated, but it's really, really rather simple. And how the magnetics of the illusion of life, of ascension, of the cosmos, of the universe or multiverse, how those magnetics work is what generates this hologram that we truly, as individuals, are in control of, except on certain levels when it deals with our opposite polarity or that twin flame or twin flames. And yes, we can have more than one twin flame, especially if we've been in duality school over and over and over since the beginning. And when we separate into that twin flame, we come from the wholeness in our angelic selves or our light being selves, and then we go into the duality, we separate into those polarities. That is what the twin flame is. It's just an opposite point, a point away from you where the energetics flow around, which creates the Vesica Pisces. The 2 points, when encircled and overlaid, creates the Vesica Pisces. Me, my twin flame, 2 points, Vesica Pisces, the experience. Now, it doesn't mean that my twin flame has to experience the same as me, and it doesn't mean that I experience the same as her. But here is what has been occurring with me these past several weeks as we went through the portal from July 29th through August 25th, and many of us came into the higher vibrations of the fifth dimension and New Earth, which New Earth and Old Earth are all right here on the same Earth, right here and now. It's just levels of vibration that individually we hold within our field. And it does not mean that our twin flame or our soul monad, the larger fractalization of us, like a soul family or a soul group, but on the largest scale, it's called a monad. It does not mean that all those individuals step through this portal. But since one of us did, choosing ascension, choosing to hold on to the frequencies, then what we have done is we step through that portal, and it will pull the rest of us in that soul monadic group through the portal eventually. It sets up for everyone to expand their consciousness and to go through the ascension process. And that's why so many people are here on Earth going through the process right now, because we are affecting our soul group, our monad, our twin flames, and all those associated, all those that we fractalized from. We're bringing through these portals with us. Now, they have to do their own personal clearing and enlightenment process. And so you can't get into the heart without number one, realizing that's what you want to do and choosing that, but getting out of the negativity and the duality of the brain, the ego, the identification with separation and self, and shifting into the heart to expand and allow the higher states of ourselves, our higher beings, to come into the physical form, expanding our light, raising our frequency depending on which level of higher self, which is all dimensional frequencies, into our being, and living from that expanded state of consciousness. Now, what's going on is when, in my experience anyway, is when, like, as I have awakened, in all this lifetime, I came in semi-awake, but awakening is an ongoing process. I came in semi-awake, meaning I knew I was here for the spiritual experience this time, and we were here to ascend Mother Earth, and there could be both light and dark timelines, which we've bypassed all that now. It's not bypassed, but we've solved those problems. Now we're going through the gateways and portals in the ascension process. But as one of us steps through, it causes the others to be pulled behind. But what I'm experiencing right now is like a rubber band effect. It's like I'm here in my twin flames are here, and I say more than one because as the original two have fractalized out, many times we fractalize ourselves again. And many of us remember being in the same time frame of our lifespans as humans, being in two different lives at the same time. That's because we split and fractalized our individual self out again. And our twin flames do this too, especially if they've been here for a long time. And it's for greater soul experience in the same illusion of time, or the same period where certain things and experiences are going on Earth, to feed the Akash, to feed the soul growth, and to have more experience for the soul, to feed the mind of God. So many times we as individuals, hey Mockingbird, this Mockingbird comes up to me in so many videos, and that's just really cool. You'll hear me speaking about them. But right now, many of us have stepped through this portal and have done so because we've done our work and are consciously choosing to go through that portal, and we are pulling the rest of us with us. It's like having a rubber band around the two parts of twin flame. And here's one ascending, which pulls this one that's resisting, but is also ascending in their consciousness. They're resisting because they're still in their head and duality and thinking they have to be in control of their illusion. They're thinking that by doing things on the exterior of themselves that they can change their reality, which they can, but really to change your reality, you've got to change yourself. It's not done on the exterior, it's done on the interior. And many of our twin flames aren't necessarily doing their clearing, removing those old habits, ghosties in their closet, letting them out and freeing them from their heart, from their emotions, so they can get out of their brain and into their heart. And which is the beginning of the ascension process, the activation of the heart chakra, the activation of the light body, and the expansion. And that only occurs by shifting out of the duality and into the heart. And to get into the heart and hold yourself in that space of the heart, you've got to clear up your old negative habits and thought patternings and concepts and beliefs, and the feeling of being as a victim, or you've been harmed, or you did anything other than choose your life experience. When you accept that you have chosen your life experience and that everything is a reflection of what you create from your electrical thoughts and the magnetics from your heart, your emotions, it generates the reality you experience as life until you comprehend that, then life is happening to you, and you're living in a third or fourth dimensional state of being. And it's very interesting to see many of those twin flames and those in our soul families and soul groups and monads haven't come to that point yet. But what we are doing as we choose and we go through our ascension process, it's like having a rubber band around all of us. And this one, who we are, is going fast through our ascension and expansion and consciousness activation process. And with that rubber band, it's pulling these others, but they're trying to maintain the illusion, the 3D, 4D, their separation, rather than doing their clearing, getting out of their head and moving into their heart space and going through their ascension process. Sooner or later, they're going to release that, and then we can all move real fast. But right now, it feels like I'm pulling a train. A train of others resisting as I'm trying to blast off, and it's pulling my twin flames and my soul family and soul monadic group with me. So it's an interesting experience that we're having here and now, and it's interesting to see. And I have to correct something that I said, because Harmony and Todd Fronterhouse messaged me saying there are gatekeepers who have their twin flames with them, and it's not the most easiest thing to do, but they're doing it. And so I have to say that there are many gatekeepers that are out there consciously working the gates, holding portals open, allowing the energy to flow through with their twin flame. So anyway, blah 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 blah. So now we are having the shift in the polar magnetics, twin flames going on with the sun right now, which is affecting our individual selves, because our polarities are changing also. Many of us, like I've said in previous videos, we're no longer grounding to Mother Earth, but grounding to the cosmos from where we came, and Mother Earth becomes the focus of the opposite polarity. Grounding, again, has to do with magnetics, has to do with polarities, like electricity. You have a positive and a negative, or a hot and a common, or a hot and a ground. And it's the same thing with us. And as we're going through our expansion, we are grounding more to the cosmos. That's where our feet are. And the positive pole, the hot leg, is Mother Earth. And that's where we're focusing our thought, electrical, and our heart, our emotions, the magnetics. And that's how we're shifting Mother Earth. And so anyway, yeah, what's going on in the sun is also going on within us, but it's also, you're seeing it going on within our governments. Right now we're in the middle of a United States government shutdown. Ha ha ha. Like, yeah, right. All because of imaginary money and fiat currency. Truly, this is to wake up the public. Even the guys on Team Dark are still light workers and here to awaken the masses and the collective of humanity, so we can all go, hold on. It's not okay that they're doing these things, and we don't need to be ruled and controlled and have kings over us. We need to be individually sovereign and enlightened, and doing things in a much, much different way. And that's part of why we have Team Dark doing what they're doing right now. And it's not really, when I say Team Dark, then it seems like that's putting polarization into it, and it's really just the two opposite points so that the experience can be had. So creating the Vesica Pisces, the experience, the vibration, just like a twin flame. Now, these are all magnetics, and over this summer, I had been working with Daniela Breen. Wow, it really amazes me to watch what ants can do. And we've got this one ant on the ground carrying what looks to be a moth, and it's like 50 times as big as he, but he's got it on his head and he's carrying it. It's like us who are ascending Mother Earth right now. When we came into this and started realizing that this is our mission to do our ascension and to ascend Mother Earth, it felt like that ant carrying that moth above his head. And it's so much bigger than our little selves. And when we can release our egos and really allow our higher selves into our physical being and expand our light, then those challenges of having that great big moth that's 50 times bigger than us, it doesn't seem so difficult anymore, because we're operating from a different perspective. We're not in our ego, in our little being that we are. But anyway, back to the clearing. Yeah, all this summer I had been working with Daniela, and we would go back and look at past lives that I have had and other timelines that I've had, where I was involved with the original of my twin flames, where the greatest of those magnetics flow through. And I have never been able... Number one, my twin flame does not wish me to ever express her name. And I'm talking about my main twin flame here. Does not wish me to ever express her name until she's gone through a process. And I agree with that. But for years, I didn't talk about this twin flame issue. And since I first mentioned it, I've had just numerous persons that have asked me to relate my experience. So I've got to be very careful as to how I put things and not give too much away about the main twin flame, the one who we split from and then later fractalized ourselves out and into. But my main one is very beautiful, inside and out, but very locked into the 3 and 4D worlds. And the cycle of reincarnation, in talking about ascension, was not something that that was one of the only subjects which she could not comprehend and didn't want to talk about. And so our time being very close, our conversations were very limited on this, and she said she did not want to ascend as the first 40-day event, and those of us activating our heart chakras and going through our personal ascension process began in 2009. She said she didn't want to go through it, and she actually went the other direction, went out of the higher states of love and went into her lower chakras, survival mode. And she had to do that for certain reasons, which I understand. But it could have been much, much more easy for her if she chose to let those ghosties out of her closet and to really be honest and truthful about things that had happened with her and I, and just accept that and move on from there. Instead, she hid secrets, and with doing that, created polarities and magnetics in her field. Karma. That's what karma is. Karma is magnetics. And she maintained that duality or separation, which caused her great difficulty at this time in her existence in this life right now, at this time. And she's begun waking up and knowing something's up, and had started watching my page and meditating on me. And that's part of why I mentioned that in previous videos, because I knew it. And then I went and verified that, and I was absolutely right on with the messages I was feeling and hearing and sensing. But in my commenting about it, and to say, hey, you've got to let those ghosties go, and my actually messaging her where we have not had a face-to-face conversation. Literally the last time that we saw each other face-to-face, from the camera away, was right as Fukushima was going down, right as that earthquake was going down on March 11th. That moment was the last time I was actually face to face with her, and we had already split, and she was already angry and upset with me, and I was saying hi, and she wouldn't even acknowledge me. The same thing's been going on for 4 years. So earlier this summer, and I had been asking, who is this person in relation to me all these years since I split? And I kept on seeing that we came here together in like a crystalline flag in the wind where we're waving. One was me and one was her, and it had her face that is the overall face of the energetics of who she is, and I could see the other one was me, and we were connected like that. And then there was a split, and that split hurt. Oh my God, it hurt so deep. And there was an anger and an upset, a separation, kind of like what do they call it, postnatal, when a mother has a child, and then she has this depression of having lost. There's a death that's going on there when that baby goes out. There's a death when the twin flames separate, and you have this yearning of what's missing. And that's what I kept on feeling, sign. And that was exactly, I kept on asking how, and see, my twin flame, the main one, the one that we split from, and that's who I will always talk about as my twin flame, although I do know that I've met other fractals of her, and persons who told me they were fractals of her, which as I have the experience with them, I'm finding, yeah, they're right. And so I realize, yes, there's more fractals of the individual, but because I am the master fractal here, pulling all those fractals back into me from all my experiences here in duality over all this past 52 million years of having duality experiments, since the Orion Wars, I've been pulling all my fractals from all the timelines back into this one to become whole and complete. That's not necessarily saying my main twin flame has gone through her process, but in so doing, God, this is getting really amazing, trying to get everything that's trying to come through in an order that's understandable in the video. Well, at the beginning of the summer, when I was pulling in my fractals and was working with Daniela, and we were going back to Atlantis and Lemuria and times where I've had fractals of me, and other timelines where my twin flame and I are together right now, but pulling all the parts of me that were always left with her in all these various ones to this one point to be as whole and complete as I possibly can at this point. And my twin flame and I had courted heart to heart purposely during our time together, which I had been cutting those cords and trying to cut that cord, and it would reconnect for the past 4 years. It would always reconnect and go back to her. Okay, so start of this summer, as we're really getting ready to go through the portal that generated with the cosmic Merkaba that was over planet on July 29th, as we were doing our clearing and preparing for that, pulling the fractals of self back in, Daniela and I had found many cords. God, it's neat to watch ants work and build their mound and go grab a rock and dump it over the side of the mound, and you can watch the pile just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Anyway, I had been pulling back fractals of self, and we noticed in the cording that was heart to heart with me and my twin flame that kept me constantly, the more I tried to pull away, like that rubber band, the more I pulled away, the more that was slamming me back again. It's just like what we're going through in this ascension right now. The more I pulled away, the more I say, no, I'm not putting any thought, I'm not putting any emotional magnetics into it, and I just want to be rid of that twin flame. It would slap me upside the head and come back. The more I tried to do something about it, the more the magnetics were putting it in front of my face. Now, now this might not be happening with my twin flame because she's being in a denial of the magnetics in polarity. It seemed like there was a courting going on, but what I realize now is it's not necessarily courting. You've heard me many times say, don't court heart to heart like that, learn to love from above. Well, I had learned to do that many years ago, and what I've tried to do is to separate me from the individual. But the more I separate myself from the individual, the more it's right there in my face. Now, we are not these physical beings. Yes, we are, but it's only in the short experience within the body that we are that. So my twin flame is really in the greatest picture, not this personality that she is in this lifetime, just like Bill Ballard is my ego self. That is her egoic self. And she is believing that the illusion is real and trying to fight and trying to be in survival mode. 3111 is a look down and saw. Of course. She's in a survival mode that trying to hang on to the collapsing illusion. And she believes that is reality rather than dealing with the energetics. She's holding on to the ego, whereas in my expansion, I'm allowing my Arcturian self, my angelic self, my archangelic self, and now Metatron to more live within my physical being. Kind of like a multiple personality. Ascension can be schizophrenic. Especially when you're attuning to all the dimensions and timelines. And so the more that I was trying to cut those cords, the more those magnetics were coming back through. And it was only with these past weeks and the realization that you cannot cut magnetic cords. You cannot cut the magnetics between your twin flames. That twin flame might be going another direction, and you might go, look, you know, what they are doing in their experience, although they're wonderful people, we can't do and hold the higher frequencies and vibrations and light quotient in our fields. And so we have to look inward and clear those problems, clear those traits about us, those characteristics that keeps us into the lower vibration, so we can have a much more greatly expanded field that makes our experience more magical and less dramatic, like those who are still trying to hang on to the 3 and 4D worlds. Wow. And that's what my twin flame is doing, trying to hang on to her 3 and 4D world. And I thought that, like we used to do in previous lives, in the 2 times that I've ascended off planet before in previous Earth cycles, we were together in that particular lifetime. We were lovers, involved with each other, husband and wife, if you will, in that lifetime. In both times, she did the same thing as is doing now. And back then, we had to let go, cut those cords, raise our frequency, expand our light, raise our frequency more, and create that portal that we ascended through, that we dropped body through, that energetic tornado that just like Enoch was taken in a whirlwind, that so many persons have been who've ascended off planet. And she couldn't understand what I was doing and what I had to do, although that's always been my goal, is ascension, and to show others that it can be done and not be caught up in the crap. And I would always come back to Earth and have more physical experiences, which meant the veil was put over me again, although I was 4D and realizing there was a connection. it was difficult to get back in the heart, because the heart is what activates that electromagnetic field, that energy tornado, that dimensional doorway, so you could ascend back then. This time, we're taking everybody with us. And so, there again, you have that pull with the rubber band around, pull of one twin flame ascending, and then bringing that other twin flame and all the monadic group that's trying to hang on to the 3,4-D with as we're going. So that's what's going on right now. And so earlier this summer, when Daniela and I were doing so much work and realizing the history, and always had fractals of myself behind my twin flame because I was going through the experience, but wanted her to go through, but it wasn't time for her to go through, or anybody else. And now is that time, because we're bringing everybody through. And just then, before 2009, only 8,000 persons had ever ascended off planet, and 2 of those was me. And I did again, not off planet, but I went through my heart activation and ascension process in 2009, and I've been continually expanding and going through the initiation process since, doing things that have never been done before on Earth, so that we can bring all of humanity through this ascension, consciousness expansion, frequency shift with us. And so anyway, this time we're remaining here on Earth, and with that, I kept on having this slap back every time I was trying to cut with my twin flame. And Danielle and I were looking inside and seeing the cords that had been before, that was reconnecting, and the energetics of what was going on. But the thing about a twin flame is your opposite polarity. The opposite polarity that allows the magnetic field to exist, that the experience flows around. So, what I was constantly finding was more fractals of me that I pulled back into self. But as I was pulling those fractals of me into self, then there is separation anxiety, which in the past couple of weeks since the fall equinox, turned from a love that I always had for my twin flame, wanting to pull away. Just, God, get out of my life. Let me go. Let me go. Let me go through my thing. Get out of my heart and head. But you can't cut magnetics. That's the deal. You can't cut magnetic ties with your twin flame. It's basic mechanics. I don't care how hard you try, because the energy flows around like a big donut around you. It is a toroidal field around you and your twin flame. And really twin flames, but the main one, the one that you actually split from, that is the one that is the main source of magnetics. And so what was happening is, the more light I was feeling with my field, since in my field, in my being, since the fall equinox, and what's going on with the sun in this polar shift. And previously in Earth School, with the polar shift, was always my focus on my twin flame, and what I wanted to do this time is focus on the ascension and go that way. What was happening and coming up since the equinox was anger. And it's just like having a separation in a relationship. Most of the time, persons, they can't leave the other individual. It takes a lot of growth in the individual to leave a relationship and move on, but still hold that amount of love for that other being within the field. I've always held that love for my twin flame. And in the wanting the disconnect, I kept on finding separation anxiety in small pieces of anger, in it seems so huge because of the light in my field, because everything in my field is super amplified when it's the most minute particles of anger and hurt that is flowing in the emotions between the atoms within the cells of my physical being. That's where that Vesca Pisces, those emotions are, that we have to go in and dig up and release so that we can clear our physical beings. They are at the quantum levels. Quantum level is where magnetics are observed. That's what atoms do. Atoms are polarities. They have a proton, a neutron, and electrons. And the proton and the electrons are the positive and negatives that allows the energy to flow around. That allows the polarities there so the electron can flow around, or within twin flames, or any experience that we manifest, so that the energy field can flow around. Those same energetics that you put out from your heart that goes with your thought, your intent, out to the field for manifestation to come back in your life. How you manifest is the energetics, those magnetics. And the twin flames have this too. And you find it with lesser degrees with other fractals of the main twin flame. If you're the main sovereign being that is going through your ascension process, bringing all the rest through. And so you still have the magnetics with other twin flames, it's just to a lesser degree. The magnetics are more bound to the main twin flame. It's like having a magnet with less Gauss, like having an iron magnet in comparison to a rare earth magnet. The rare earth magnet is going to hold hundreds of times the power that that iron magnet has for the same size in field. And so anyway, it's the same thing going on in the mechanics of the relationships of the twin flames in the experience. So past several weeks I had been having anger come up because it's yes, I'm wanting to separate from my twin flame, but I can't do it. And it is so weird. Right now I'm in a state of surrender, and I might go back to this other state of going, God, can I push you away? Can I go the other way? And it keeps on generating more and more magnetics, which is a hoot. It's there's some things we just can't shift and change. And you'll find that if you have this key that keeps on reoccurring with an individual, if you go look, you might find the individual is your twin flame. Somebody had mentioned me, how do you know it's your twin flame? How do you know anything spiritual? You have to have the desire of the intent to want to know the information, and you have to go into a quiet state where you're eliminating any outside influences, and you have to ask the question or ask to be seen, work with your higher guides. Who is this person to me, or what am I to this person, or whatever? And you have to be very quiet, still, and pure to allow that information to come through. And after my twin flame and I had broken up, I kept on asking, who is this person to me? And what I kept on seeing was that ribbon of her and me. And then the separation and the heartbreak, the feeling of separation, and like I know that is me, that is in that physical being. It is my reflection. But then there again, if it's not choosing the same path and the same process, which we're not necessarily supposed to, there is no rhyme or reason, but then that one can become a polar opposite. Even if it's a polar opposite, the magnetics still flow around that polar opposite. You still have the experience. You cannot break those magnetics. You can cut cords, you can love from above, but you can't break the magnetics. And that's that's probably the greatest realization these past couple of weeks that I've had, in very minute bits of anger coming up within me, trying to, because of the frustration of separation, because of the duality that we felt, because of the anxiety of separation, and because that I don't want to have this individual constantly haunting me in my thought and emotion. And there it goes. Air conditioner right at that sign. Same time, sign. And what I've done now is just surrendered, because I realized that you can't get rid of the magnetics. And all this is occurring at the exact same time as the sun is flipping its fields, which means that the fields between me and my twin flame might also start flipping, and she might be at this time going through her process of ascension, which would affect, oh my God, I hope she does that, because it would affect so many people. So many people look up to her, and I wish I could speak about this, but I can't, because of promise and an intent. Even with all the things that she had done to hurt me, I still have to keep my promises. And because to hold light, you have to, you're playing with magnetics. You have to not hold on the polarities and the hurts and the traumas and the separation, the duality, the ego that goes on with that. You have to keep your promises. And you cannot get to those levels of light and initiation until you clean out your heart, until you get over all the trauma. That in getting over trauma is an ongoing process, because those are magnetics. You're releasing old thought, emotions, and perceptual patterns, old habits, old ways of doing things, old 3D and 4D programming, so that we can be in our hearts in a 5D and higher state. And when my twin flame finally goes through her process and realizes that, yeah, you've got to let those ghosties out of your closet. You've got to be honest. You cannot lie. You cannot deceive people. You cannot manipulate and cheat and control others. You cannot have an inner intent to have this person do so it could create your abundance or have that which you're wishing. If you are controlling another and you're putting out those magnetics, that's going to come back to you, and it's going to keep your light quotient, your frequency down. It's going to keep you in lower vibrations. And it's that exactly which my twin flame is going to have to come to the realization of. We all do. It's how the mechanics of all this works. And once she does, and she decides that she wants the magical experience, then all the crap that is the drama that's unfolding right now as the old 3 and 4D world, the governments, the banking system, the war machine, all this collapses. That is the 3D world. That is what's collapsing. The monetary system. We might have a collapse in the monetary system with the US dollar here this week. It's really looking like that is unfolding. My twin flame is going to have to come to the point where she's sick of having all the drama and the crap, and realize that the darkness and the control and manipulation and the lies and the cheating and the way that she is living in her survival mode is what's creating the crap within her life. And she's got to face it full force, and she's got to be honest about it with everybody. And when she does, and she goes through her ascension process, she's going to affect numerous persons who look up to her and her family and her town and all the other fractals of herself. There's many other fractals of herself that is here and on planet. And then what happens then is I'm pulling through ascension. Then it will be going evenly rather than a resistance, and I feel like I'm pulling a train. And so I'm really, really feeling that with this solar pole shift that's gone down now, and all the CMEs that have been unleashed, and my God, we've got 4 of them heading this way, with the first one this afternoon, and it's going to be daily CME, CME, CME from the M flares, which is increasing the frequency, increasing the light, going to make emotions chaotic for persons who are still in their brain. Persons who are still in the duality of their brain, playing in 3 and 4D, they're going to be having more and more trauma until they surrender and they release and they go into their heart. But that's what this is all about. That's what this experience is all about. If you're going to fight cleaning out your closet, cleaning out your hates and angers, and they did this to me, and they did that to me, and all your victimization, all the history, thinking that this life has just happened to you, until you can clean out and clear those emotions so that you can shift, your consciousness into that sacred spot in your heart, which you'll continue cleaning out those emotions and those old traumas. It doesn't end just there. Until persons get fed up with this crap, that's what is going on with the collapse of the 3 and 4D worlds. It's to keep on saying, hey guys, that's not where you want to be. Surrender. Be love. Be honest. Be truthful. Be about everybody else. Be giving and shining your light out, radiating your light out, rather than to try to take other person's light so you can have it for yourself. You have to get out of here. You have to clean up the closet in here to get out of here and get in there and expand that light so you can be the lighthouse and the generator. And that's what Ascension is. Oh my God. I think I've talked for 51 minutes now. Freaking amazing. Anyway, what else is going on? Yep, it's going to play out in fractals all around. What is going on with the sun is happening with us who are consciously choosing Ascension in our lives, in our clearing, as our polarities shift out. It's going on with our twin flames. It's going on with the families in our local communities. It's going on with the governments. It's going on with the collective of humanity. And it's so much easier when we can observe it like that. I've had several conversations with some dear friends who are heavy into their ascension process, and I'm not going to mention names, but you know who you are, and I love you so dearly. We're all going through this. Just like that little anger that was so magnified with me, my other friends going through their processes are doing the same things too. And so seeing it, identifying it, realizing the mechanics of it, and acknowledging the magnetics of it. You cannot stop the magnetic flow between 2 points. We can stop our personal creations, but we cannot stop that magnetic flow that goes between us and our twin flames, or us and all our layers and sources of self going up the ascension ladder. Those magnetics we cannot stop. Now, above us, we can very easily flow through, but our twin flames, we can't flow through that one. That's a magnetics that we can't stop. And now that I've spent 4 years, gone through the portals, doing all this stuff, I finally, at this point, am coming to the realization of that's a magnetics we just can't quit. And if you've got somebody in your life that you just can't seem to break away from, then go into meditation and ask why. If you've got somebody in your life that is constantly in your emotions or in your heart, go into your meditation and ask why. Ask who your twin flame is, and be quiet, be clear, and learn to listen. That's how we get all our information. It's all done by meditation and by where we place our consciousness. I used to tell people, in my days while I was 4D, and I've always been an inventor. I'm a tool and die maker, a machinist. I do construction. I'm a mechanic. I do all kinds of things, but I've always been an inventor. And what I used to do before I shifted my consciousness from my head and into my heart, I used to tell people that I was able to move it to my soul chakra on the solar level into the galactic level, but I would move it to my Melchizedek chakra about 5 feet above my head, and then I would send out the problem that I needed a solution for, and I would receive downloads of information, kind of like an encyclopedia, a whole series of various books with all the pages ripped out. And it was all a bunch of information, many times with pictures, that was solutions to the problems that I needed that could be done with the technology that we had on hand at that time in our collective history. And that was how I did it. I moved my consciousness up and down my antakrana to my various chakras. And that's how we connect with various layers of our higher self also. And that's how we connect for creation. Our consciousness, our mind, the eternal us, is not fixed within our brain. And as long as it's fixed within our brain, we're living in a 3 and 4D world. And until we can move it out of there and clean up that sacred spot within our heart of all our trauma and shift that consciousness out of the brain, the mind out of the brain and into the heart, which is fifth dimensional living. That's where you generate your light body and expand your field, become enlightened, go through your initiation processes. And that's where we're all going. Until you do that, learn to shift your consciousness out and about. But by doing that, those same things, this is going back to the person who asked me about twin flames. How do you know? It is by getting in that state and asking the question and being quiet and listening and having your third eye and fourth eye open and clear so you can see. And so you can see with the emotions that you have along with the pictures that you're shown and you're given. And if you ask in sincerity, you'll be given the answers. It's just like inventing something. You have to ask the question and to want to know a response to whatever it is you're putting out there to have that energy coming back, and you have to be in a very meditative state. Sending out is praying. Receiving is meditating. You have to be in a meditative state to receive. And so that's how you do it. That's how I've done it. I know there might be many other ways to do it, but my expressions of my experience are through my personal experience, that which I've done within this lifetime as Bill Ballard. And so anyway, man, oh man, oh man, we're getting ready to have a most amazing next few days as the sun is kicking back up and turning back on. And this hydrogen sun is turning into a helium sun, and will it remain quadrupolar when it all starts settling down? I don't know. But that brings me up to one last thing I want to say before I end this video. In the past 2 years, there were many persons that were saying we'll have one ascension that's going on right now because of the solar cycle, and we always have a collapse of Earth's magnetic field during that solar cycle, which allows us to receive higher cosmic rays and magnetics coming in. It's not being protected by Earth's magnetic field. In 2010 and 11, there were persons who were saying that the next waves will be in 11 years from now at the next solar cycle, and then again in 2035, 36 in that solar cycle. Does that mean that the buildup of Earth's magnetic fields will become stronger and then we don't have any more ascension process during this time? I don't necessarily feel that, because so many on planet are actually going through their process, and so we're radiating the light and the frequencies out there right now that will affect, like dominoes falling, all the rest of the collective of humanity. And so the mechanics, yeah, we could possibly have a shutdown in the ascension because of the mechanics and understanding what's going on there, or it could be totally different. Anyway, I'm coming up to the end of this video at 59 minutes. I can't do 60 on this computer and program. Love y'all, guys. Bye for now. Have a wonderful next few days with the solar flares, and I guarantee you this is going to continue incoming. The question is it going to strengthen Earth's magnetic field or not? Anyway, that's the end of this video. Love y'all. Bye for now.